Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the latest on the Brexit deal with India, as our old friend the Express is behaving as if the deal is already done. Mind you, if Rishi Sunak is going to go full Boris Johnson, he will just give them whatever they ask for in return for cheap headlines, so maybe it is nearly done. So what will we potentially get from the deal, and what will India get in return? But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So yes, looking at the front page of the Daily Express today, it's Brexit trade deal time again. The Brexit trade deal circus back in town, all very exciting. Despite all the fake praise in the right-wing media, however, I wonder if any members of the public are paying attention yet, because we first arranged a post-Brexit trade deal with Japan, and our trade with them went down. Turned out to be negative. Good start. And that is because we gave them so much access to our market that they just pulled a load of Japanese factories out the UK because they thought, well, now we can just produce this stuff in Japan and send it to you and it works out just as cheap or cheaper. So they didn't need that investment in the UK anymore. Nice one. Then we arranged deals with New Zealand and Australia. Now, these deals were so bad, from our point of view, that is, not theirs, that former Cabinet Minister George Eustace attacked them in Parliament. And New Zealand and Aussie reporters couldn't actually stop themselves laughing when they were announcing the news to their public. You know, you can imagine these newscasters going, you've got this wrong, this can't be right. Yeah, it is right. You're having a laugh. It's also worth noting that even the UK government's own economic assessment of these trade deals thinks they're worth a 0% boost to our GDP. You know, in response to the 4% loss to our GDP from Brexit. Now, so far, it appears we've taken more than a 4% loss as a result of the Trading Cooperation Agreement, but I think it's supposed to settle out at about 4% still. So for anyone following all this trade news, I'm sure we're all optimistic for what the Indian trade deal will be worth for us. It is worth bearing in mind that despite the headlines in the Express today, no deal is said to be imminent, unless, of course, Sunak folds like Johnson did. Which I suppose he might. He's meeting Modi next month. No doubt his father-in-law will be sniffing around as well. Johnson used to cave just to get the announcements and the headlines. The danger with Sunak is that he's not only motivated to get cheap wins as well, but he has a history of arranging our budgets to benefit his father-in-law's companies. Pure coincidence, I'm sure, of course. But it would not surprise me after a few years of people picking through the details that it transpires that the family Sunak is married into does rather well out of whatever deal is agreed. In terms of the reported details, what is the UK looking for? Well, as reported, what the UK government wants is better access to the Indian market for whiskey and cars. Right. So let's begin by pointing out that India is the most populous country in the world. So in theory, opening up their market slightly more could be lucrative, all other things being equal. However, India is very similar to the UK, but more extreme in that it's a wealthy country, okay, but their citizens are not. GDP per capita is 19 times lower than the average for the EU. But India's population is only 3 times that of the EU. So the EU market is way more lucrative for us. It's not just that it's closer, it's just way more money there. This is the point many experts have tried to make. Most people outside of Europe do not have the money to consume lots of goods. There's too many Brexiteers went, oh, Europe, right, that's our continent. Rest of the world, oh, that's several more continents. Well, we must, if we can expand our trade in the rest of the world, then, that'd be better. It's like, no, it's far away and they don't have much money. A lot of the wealth is concentrated in Europe. Few other pockets around as well, but mostly it's concentrated in Europe, North America, and a couple of parts of Asia, and that's it. And India is not one of those parts. There is no compensating for such a loss of EU trade with trade around the rest of the world. It doesn't add up. So despite India's size, in order for us to get anything worthwhile from an enhanced trade deal, we would actually need significant extra market access. Whiskey and cars isn't going to do it. I mean, let's look at those, shall we? Whiskey. Now, quite a lot of India's population are teetotal, but there are still plenty who drink. Now, apart from the much lower disposable income, which I've already discussed, and bearing in mind that whiskey is not the cheapest form of alcohol, the per capita consumption of alcohol in India is 4 times lower than in Europe. But remember, they only have a population 3 times higher, and that's of the EU. It's only double the population of Europe as a continent. So we can't possibly get a boost to the whisky industry to compensate for trade friction with Europe. Then cars. Well, right now it's tricky to know if we'll even have a car industry left after Brexit. And even if we do, we still run into that problem of cost. People in India much poorer than in Europe. The potential for significantly increased sales of expensive European cars in India is severely limited. So what do India want in return? Well, they want better market access for basically everything they produce. We're asking for like better market access for cars. They're saying, no, everything we produce in a factory, we want better market access. They want better access for Indian companies setting up in the UK, so basically tax breaks. And they want much easier access to visas for Indian workers. Way more immigration into Britain from India. Now, we could do with the workers, and many of them have the skills we lack. But I'm not sure that's what a lot of Leave voters had in mind with Brexit, you see. So basically, as things stand, if Sunak can agree terms in the short term, let's say next month he agrees terms, in principle at least, this is what those terms will be. We will get enhanced access to one type of manufactured product, which we may or may not still be making in 10 years' time, plus an expensive form of alcohol for a country which is poor and where one of their major religions is teetotal and the other frowns on it, or one of the other frowns on it, I should say. In return, India gets enhanced market access to a rich consumer market for all of their manufactured goods, plus services, plus lots more work visas. Now, India already represents 41% of all graduate visas, 36% of all work visas, and 33% of all skilled work visas in the UK. India do not want those figures going up by just a little bit. So we have a history of getting trade agreements which are way better for the other side than the UK. In fact, every post-Brexit trade agreement so far has, according to the official figures, been of either zero benefit or actually negative. So that's our record so far. We are now going to negotiate an agreement with a powerful protectionist country where one of its richest billionaires is Rishi Sunak's father-in-law. What we are asking for is largely worthless to our GDP, and we might not even get that. What India are asking for is much greater access to our market in return for some shiny beads. The UK government are reportedly saying that the deal could be worth between 0.12 and 0.22% GDP boost. Remember, that is offset against the 4% drop in GDP from leaving the single market and customs union, right? And that is pathetic, between 0.12% and 0.22%. That is pathetic in itself. When you consider, you can't even say, oh yeah, but you add them all up, Phil. No, because so far they've come out at zero. When you consider what we've lost, and also that this figure, 0.12 to 0.22, is based on the UK getting what it's asking for at the moment. Because obviously they can't work out the final figure because there's no final deal. So essentially, when the deal is agreed and we've had to concede on some things, that figure will be lower. Another trade agreement with a major economy which works out at 0% to GDP as an optimistic appraisal. And we probably won't even see that for 10 or 15 years as usual, because that's what they usually say. Oh, this is worth a 0.001% boost to GDP in about 15 years. Right. Well, we've lost GDP straight away overnight by leaving the EU. Basically, this deal, even if we get everything the UK government is asking for, and given that it doesn't seem to be asking for very much, we may or may not, but we probably won't because they know we're desperate. It's nothing to cheer about. It will be more about cheap headlines for the Tories and Brexiteers than of any benefit to the public or the country. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.